All right, Joe. Hey, thanks again for joining me today. I'm glad I can have you on this interview here. I'm going to jump right into it with the first question here, Joe. What type of inspection service do you offer, and what is included in your standard home inspection? I mean, do you have different tiers, or is it just one standard flat fee home inspection, and that's what it is?
Yes, well, so I know every home is different and every client is different. So I offer three different packages. I have the Plus, which is already above industry standards. I have the Premium, which is our most popular, and then I have the Prestige. So when a client goes from a Plus to a Premium, they get extra things like infrared scanning. They get enrolled in our recall program. They get a measured floor plan. But the great news is that all of our inspections come with a 360-degree virtual report summary, and I'm doing inspections of the crawl space, the attic, the structure of the home, the electrical, the plumbing, appliances, just everything in the home. If I can touch it and feel it, I'm going to inspect it.
Great. Interesting. Infrared. Give me a quick snapshot of what do you mean? You say infrared. What do you mean by that?
Right. So while I'm in the house, I am, first thing I do, I turn on all the lights, running the dishwasher and everything. And what I'm trying to do is load up the electrical panel with everything in the house is pushing on it. And then I take an infrared scanner, a camera, and I look at the breakers in the panel to see if there's any heat signatures or temperature anomalies or anything like that. And then that way I know, hey, this breaker has an issue. And then with the plumbing, I do I do infrared scanning on the plumbing as well, looking around the toilets to make sure the toilet is not leaking. Or if it's a two-story home, I will go under where the bathroom is with my infrared camera and looking to see if there's any leaking between the floors.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty high tech there.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, Joe, let me ask you this. Okay, so we're at the inspection and the client's there. Do you like having the client there while you're doing the inspection? Do you prefer them to be there, like, at the end of the inspection? What do you like when you're doing your inspection when it comes to the buyer of the house?
I actually encourage my clients to be at the home inspection, and I like them to participate. I always tell them, hey, if you see something, say something that doesn't offend me. I always say that 4 or 6 eyes are better than 2. And also, this is the second time they've been in the home. So the first time, they were probably in there 30, 45 minutes. But this time, I like them to be there because now they have, 2 hours, 2.5 hours to really soak in the home, enjoy it, and they can ask me questions. And also I like them there because I can point out, where your electrical cutoff is, your water cutoff, your gas cutoff, identify certain quirks in the home. For example, if the receptacle in the powder room is not working, I could say, hey, the reset button for that is upstairs in the primary bathroom. Or if there's a regular outlet outside and that trips, actually the reset button may be in the foyer. So I need to show them things like that, so that just for their education about the home.
And all that's really valuable because the majority of the times the buyer does not ever see or talk to the homeowner. And a lot of these things, the buyer buys a house and they just have to, unless they have an home inspection, they just have to figure out, where all these shutoffs and all this stuff is. And,
Yeah.
Like we've talked before, going through the whole COVID period, a lot of people will waive the inspection, which I think is absolutely crazy. I understand why they did it in order to be competitive. A lot of that's coming back to haunt a lot of buyers during that period of time there. But Joe, okay, so you're at the inspection, you've done the inspection. How do you relay that information to the buyer and this report that you were talking about they get? Typically, when would they get or receive that report and how?
So after the inspection, I go through a full debrief with the client. We can discuss any of the major defects that I found, any of the minor defects, and maybe some of the things that they can, maintenance items, or some of the things they can fix themselves, depending on, their contract and what they plan to take to the seller and things like that. But so we do a full debrief after the inspection, and then that also allows them to ask any questions. But then I take the report back to the office, I clean it up, and then I send the report to them as well as to the agent about an hour after we leave the house.
They have questions after they get that report. I already know the answer to this. I mean, can they reach out to you and you answer these questions or?
So I present all my clients with a binder, and in the binder has very various information about educational things about the home and so forth. But the most important thing is my business card, which has my personal cell phone number on it. So they can call me, 2 days, 2 months, 2 years after the inspection. I keep reports for 6 years, and they can give me a call. But a lot of times, a couple of days later, they may have thought of something, or they may have looked at the report again and they had another question. So they reach out to me, and I'm always happy to answer that question.
You don't necessarily have to be buying a house to have a home inspection. Anyone can reach out to you to have they want to know about their house. They've been in there for a while. Maybe they need to find out about certain things that need to be done to the house. Is that correct? They can just go to your website and schedule a time, or?
Yes, I have a lot of people that do what we call pre-listing inspections. So they kind of want to know what's going on with the house before they list it. So that way they can have an accurate amount of how much they want to list the house for. If they have a bad roof, they may want to say, okay, I'm not going to sell my house at this number. I'm going to reduce it because I know the buyer's going to ask for a roof. Or they may be wanting to know what's wrong with the house because there may be things that they want to fix. I will usually find out that sellers that do pre-listing inspections usually get more money for their home. So it's always good to do a pre-listing inspection.
I totally agree with that, because a lot of times, especially some people maybe on a tight budget on what they need to get from the sell their house, it's always good to know. You get in there and you can tell them if there's going to be an issue with the roof, or it's near its end of its life expectancy, or some appliance or something like that. So you can kind of factor in that potentially that might be something that the buyer might need to have corrected, or they might need to give a credit on. Joe, with regards to your credentials, I mean, you just didn't one day wake up and say, I want to be a pillar to post home inspector. Talk to me a little bit about your credentials and what you went through to how you got into pillar to post.
I have an interesting background. I was a part-time realtor for a while. And during that time, I would hang out with the home inspectors. And then when I decided to retire, I said, hey, I'm gonna do home inspection. So I went out, I purchased a franchise, and I got training. It's about 70, 80 hours of classwork training. So I completed that. I actually passed the national exam, which is required in the state of Virginia. Then I got certified to do new construction inspections as well. And then after I was licensed, I had to do 25 what we call mentored inspections with an experienced home inspector. So I did that, and I have a background in light construction and plumbing, electrical, and things like that. So it was kind of like a natural transition to go over to home inspections. And so I decided to purchase a franchise, and we've been going strong ever since.
Great. So with your inspections, Joe, are there any components like you don't inspect? I know a lot of it, we talked about too, a lot of this has to do with, the condition of the house and whether or not they got a room with 50 boxes blocking something. But what are some components maybe you don't inspect, and what are your limitations there?
I believe that if I can touch it or see it, I'm going to inspect it. So I try to open up every window. I try to test every receptacle. I'm running water on everything, but sometimes there are limitations. So if there's a bed that's blocking a window or a receptacle, I can't test it. But most of the time, if the bed is blocking the receptacle, there's an alarm plugged in there. So if the alarm clock is working, I'm assuming that the receptacle is good. But, there are times where in a basement, for example, the drywall is up, it's painted, and I just can't see what's behind the wall. So if the foundation is cracked behind the wall, that's something I can't see. If the house is on a slab, but there's flooring, I can't really tell you, hey, the slab is cracked because there's flooring there. Electrical and plumbing behind the wall, can't see those some of the limitations as well.
Okay. That makes sense. So Joe, okay, so pillar to post. What makes pillar to post different than some other inspection company?
Right. Well, Pillar to Post is the largest home inspection company brand in North America. We have a 98% recommendation rate. And then here at Team Lowery, we take great pride in our customer service, which is reflected in our 5-star Google rating. And then what I also like to do, I like to offer a 360-degree virtual report summary. So that's something new that Pillar to Post does. We also complete our reports the day of the inspection. So that's something else that Pillar to Post does, because we know that, we want the client to get to the closing table. So we want to get the inspection report to the agents, and you guys can do the addendum and so forth. I also have other technologies such as drone technology to go up on the roof, inspect those roofs that are complicated or hard to scale, and things like that.
Great. Okay. So, Joe, I know you said earlier you give your cell number. So, what is the best way to contact you if somebody wanted to reach out to you?
Yes, well, they can reach me on my cell phone at 571-521-9890.
And if they wanted to get more information about these different home inspections that are available, can you give them the website where they can find that information?
Yes, it'll be Joseph Lowery at pillartopost.com. They can pull up that website. They can meet the team so they can see who I am and read about me. My wife serves as the Director of Operations and Marketing, so there's information about her. There's information about what we call the ultimate home inspection, where we do the infrared scanning and things like that. It's also information about the different packages that we offer as well.
Great. And you're also on social media, right? So someone could find you there.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn.
Great. Well, Joe, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to do this interview with me. And if anybody has any questions or anything, I'm sure you wouldn't mind at all if they sent you an email or gave you a call, or better yet, get their home inspected. But yeah, thank you, Joe, and have a great day. And thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Wes. Take care.